So since I was up on the break, let me reiterate this. You have great, incredible value as a human. That has nothing to do with what you get paid. What you get paid is the service you render to the marketplace. If you organize the antiperspirant aisle in a Walmart, that's what you get paid for. If you're the CEO of Walmart and therefore you organize all the aisles in all the thousands and thousands and thousands of stores around the world that employ thousands and thousands and thousands of people, you bring more economic value to the marketplace and you get paid more. That does not mean that the CEO of Walmart or the CEO of my company, me, or the CEO of whatever is worth more as a human being, but it does mean they brought more economic value to the market. Your pay is not based on your worth as a human being, nor should it be. You have great value as a human being, but your pay is based on the economic value you bring to the market. Well, I'm too smart and have too many degrees to make this much money. Prove it by bringing economic value to the marketplace. Do something that helps someone. Do something that serves someone. Do something that makes someone's life better in some way, and you will make more money. Do it a lot and on a lot of scale, and you'll make even more money. That's how economic value works. See, that's the same thing of, they say, well, such and such an NFL quarterback makes $90 million in his last contract. Nobody's worth that kind of money. You ever heard anybody say that? No one should ever be paid that kind of money. See, that's someone, when you say that crap, that shows your ignorance. You thought that someone was being paid based on their value as a human being. No. They're not more valuable as a human being than you are. You're just as valuable as a human being as they are. But they brought more economic value to the marketplace than you did. Because believe me, the NFL team could not pay them $90 million. Were they not making more than $90 million as a result of that guy throwing that football down the field successfully? It's an economic thing. And so if you have a restaurant and you do a really good job, you make that amount of money for the service you brought to the economy. It does not mean that you are a more valuable or less valuable human being. And I've met puffed up, self-important rich people who think that they're more valuable as a human being because they're rich, and that's just not true. You're not. You're just a person. You just happen to have more green pieces of paper than the other guy. Zippy. It doesn't make you more important. And I've met people in positions of power in politics who somehow thought they were more important and that someone should care for them. But the ones that we all love, the ones we love to meet, the quote important or wealthy or famous or whatever they are the ones that realize that as a human being, I have exactly the same value you do, no more, no less. I might have brought more or less economic value to the marketplace than you brought, but those are two separate discussions. But see, in a culture where everybody gets a trophy, sometimes people stop and think, gosh, it means I as a human being am not valuable if I don't get paid the same as someone else. And, you deserve to be paid a living wage. Why? Because everyone deserves that. Why? They're entitled to that. Why? Why? If you don't do anything to bring economic value to the marketplace, how have you earned a living wage? You haven't. See, here's the way you ought to look at the minimum wage. What's the minimum you're willing to bring to the marketplace? How big a fire are you going to build? How big a ruckus are you going to cause? How much service are you going to provide? What's your minimum level of service that you want to bring to the market? Do you think a waitress that works 5 days a week ought to make 5 times as much as someone who works 1 day a week? If she waits 5 times more tables than he does, shouldn't she be paid 5 times more? Yes, but he deserves a living wage. Why? He didn't work as much. If you want a living wage, try making a living. That's why they call it that. Making a living. It's called going into the marketplace and finding a way to serve. I figured out that some companies are not willing to pay me enough for my time, that I can bring more service and economic value to the market doing other things than some companies are willing to pay. When I was a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old, back in those days, you could actually work at Burger King, and you could be a Whopper flopper. And I forget, but it seems like in my mind, it seems like minimum wage was $1.65 an hour. I think that's right. I'll have to go look it up to be sure. If I'm wrong, you can destroy me on Twitter as being an idiot, and all you people will. That's fine. But I think it was $1.65 an hour. Whatever. I figured out that I could mow grass and make 2 to 3 times more per hour what my buddies were making flopping Whoppers. And so I determined I did not want to be a Whopper flopper. I wanted to be a grass cutter. By the way, the grass cutting is outside, and I have hay fever, so I sneezed, and I was filthy, and I'm in Tennessee where the humidity is so thick in August you can cut it with a knife, and so I sweat like an animal. At 13 years old, I think they call that child abuse. Covered in dirt from the weed eater and the lawnmower blowing back on you in the wind and the humidity so thick and the sweat, and so it all sticks to you at the end of the day. I remember that like it was yesterday. It feels like 20 years ago. It was actually 40 years ago. But it feels like in my emotions it was yesterday. I remember every bit of that. But I also remember timing myself on how quickly I could cut the grass, and my goal was to cut the grass fast enough and still do a good enough job that I could make at least twice what my buddies were making per hour. And so I could work half as much and make the same money, or work the same amount and make twice as much money. Because I provided a different level of economic value, I earned more than they earned. Nobody used to strike against Burger King and McDonald's in those days. We just didn't work for them if we didn't like what they paid. And so if you don't like what someone pays, you're really saying you are unwilling to provide more service to the marketplace. You need to bring more economic value to the marketplace. I had a young man working here one time who had more degrees than a thermometer, and he came into my office and he said, people that have this many degrees that work in other places make a lot more than I do. And I said, well, you can here too. We can pay you a whole lot more. But here's the way it works here. Your raise is effective when you are. When you bring this organization more value, you can get paid more. Currently, all we do is shovel all the crap from around you because you're constantly spewing it. And so try doing something of value that brings in more money than you cost, and I'll share some of it with you. They didn't teach him that at one of the schools he went to when he was getting one of his master's degrees. If you want more money, bring more economic value to the market. Regardless of whether you do that or not, though, you're very valuable as a human being. But do not confuse your inherent intrinsic value as a human being with your economic value. Your economic value is based on one thing and one thing only: the value that you bring to the market. It's not based on your ability to be pissed off at somebody else because they don't pay you enough. That's your fault. How's that for a weird idea? Separating the value of a human being from their economic value. When you separate the two, it really clarifies for some of you people that grew up in the everybody gets a trophy generation. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.